I'm going to move to the United States and build a house there.
Borrowed $300,000 to build a house.
You know, we're not going to build a house.
You know, you can't build a house with a hammer.
Got to lay a foundation. You don't build the house.
Better to live on the corner of the roof than share a house with a quarreling wife.
Do they share a house in the Hamptons?
And then they share a house together. They're housemates.
Don't put it under the tree because you might demolish a large part of the house.
He had time to renovate a house, build fences, lay stone walls.
And these guys, when they go in there to renovate a house,
we all know that it's criminal to break into a house.
A burglar plots to break into an old woman's house on a Sunday morning.
It is a frightening experience to have a thief break into your house in the middle of the night.
And then you learn how to find an apartment and move house.
When their family decided to move house and couldn't bring the pets with them. And when someone asks you to help them move house.
So it's already hard enough to live in a house together with your co-founders.
I don't care whether I live in a house in a town or whether I own a business in town.
I would love to live in a house where the shingles are solar panels.
You wouldn't send your kids off to stay at someone's house without knowing a certain amount about it.
I needed a place to stay, and I stayed at Bill Hamilton's house.
Because I must stay at your house today.
But if I'm walking down the street and I walk past somebody's house.
Ascending dramatic switchbacks, we pass a buried house.
I passed my old house, which isn't far from where I live now.
She'd lock me out of the house, or she'd lock me in closets.
Or they'll lock them out of the house.
Klepper said he'd sometimes lock her out of the house.
Try to take the stairs as much as you can.
I see a lot of people waiting for elevators when they can easily take the stairs, and it's great for your glute.
There is no elevator to success. You gotta take the stairs.
As you use the stairs, you will see signage directing you on which path of the stair to stay.
I shall avoid the elevators and use the stairs instead.
We use the stairs as a place of just going up, getting somewhere.
If you're feeling energetic, climb the stairs to Santa Maria Church.
I'd watch her slowly climb the stairs.
It looks so real you begin to think you can actually climb the stairs up the arm.
I'm going to run down the stairs the opposite direction from the ball bearings.
You would watch him run up and down the stairs in his home.
And then I had him run up and down the stairs.
I'm going to run up and down the stairs for a while.
When your kid's about to fall down the stairs, you got to drop whatever you're doing, go grab them.
When you fall downstairs or try to make friends with a stranger in the restroom, you can just laugh.
She held me in her arms, and she carried me up and down the stairs.
She struggles to carry the flowers up the stairs.
They had to carry all the seed up the stairs. To get it out, they had to carry all the seed down the stairs.
And so climbing a flight of stairs might not put you out of breath.
He fell down a flight of stairs and laughed the whole way down.
It should be obvious that this sign should not be posted at the top of a flight of stairs.
I race you guys from the bottom of the stairs to my bedroom, and if you guys beat me, you get $100.
Okay? If I were standing right here at the bottom of the stairs and I fell forward, I would end up right here. Okay? If instead I were at the top and I fell forward, it's possible I could end up down here.
I was standing at the bottom of the stairs looking up.
at the front desk at the bottom of the stairs where your tour started.
And I could have a separate room for both of my kids. I want them to share a room.
David and I decided to share a room since we had such a good rapport.
And they have options where you can share a room where it's like a dorm style of like 4 to 30 people.
I share a room with Anya, which is where we are now.
First off, let's tidy up the living room.
Well, or if you want your kid to tidy their room, perhaps promising a reward would be better than threatening with punishment.
Now, I want to tidy up my room, so I put them all inside of a box.
And shortly after that, the residents let out the rooms for a charge of a sixpence a shot just to see the yard where she'd been murdered.
The first person who came through had such little sight that only in a really bright room was she able to see a person who was about that far away.
The tall man took Pearl into a bright room.
And so we have a bright room, but we don't see any of that natural light.
You'll notice these types of calculators work best outside or in a bright room.
Just come together and talk about things comfortably in a comfortable room.
Just a really beautiful, comfortable room.
And have them in a more comfortable room right here in Shiprock locally.
Supposedly, the entropy of the messy room is higher than that of the tidy room.
By this time, she had found her way into a tidy little room with a table in the window.
Many hotels may have a room type for a bridal suite. For twin room,
we have 29 of our rooms are individuals. We have 4 twin rooms and 1 triplet room as well.
A triple room would be a little cheaper than a double, and then a single room would be the most costly.
If there's 2 of you in a double room, much more economic.
And we got a private double room. It's only $275 per person. We're still doing pretty good for our budget today.
My mom has made up the spare room with blankets and cushions, and like, this isn't for sale.
So I've kind of like looked into the spare room market.
It's like, rent out the spare room in your house.
And left to your own devices, you might very likely just continue on to the next room.
And then it occurs to you that in the next room, there's a healthy guy who came in for a checkup.
For most of them, their parent was literally sitting in the next room during the study.
On days when the room is crowded and there's a waiting time.
The room is crowded like a mall on a Saturday afternoon.
Because now when you go to the palace, the room is crowded.
I believe is known in the trade as a locked room mystery on an island.
So this is a new locked room mystery that is being described as perfect for fans of Ruth Ware.
Because the Petrie Museum is in a locked room that's open, 1 day a week.
Not just a waiting room for the afterlife.
You get the observer situated, sometimes in a separate observer room, while the participant waits in a waiting room.
I've sat down in a waiting room of a hospital.
And if you can't be bothered to mop the floor yourself, maybe it might be time that someone took your baby and its mop away from you.
It might be wet and you can kind of easily mop the floor. But if you don't have one of these, you might need a mop.
Standard kind of like kitchen bucket that you would use to like mop the floor with.
So what that is a combination move where I start out with the sweeper, and the sweeper looks like this. Sweep, I sweep the floor across with the crutch.
Whether I was sweeping the floor or whether I was on the air.
And I would sweep the floor and think, I suppose I thought some about math.
And he'd grab a broom and he'd sweep the floor every single day. He would sweep.
I trusted him. He was my teacher, and if he told me to scrub the floor, I'd scrub the floor.
and I'd scrub it really well, better than he could imagine I could scrub it. And then I'd go and say it's done.
And her mother were stopped in the street and forced to scrub the floor of a barracks.
He helped her do the dishes, he helped her scrub the floors, he washed the windows.
Leonia will use it to cover the floor of a sauna.
Besides, they tend to cover the floor nicely rather than breaking it up visually.
And so this pattern is like tiles that covering the floor.
The isolation is so deep and profound that one of our clients would lie on the floor of his cell for hours.
There were days when I would do everything and lie on the floor and not move.
You can lie on the floor, you can lie on your bed.
They gave me a blanket to sleep on the floor.
She moved back into her apartment, but continued to sleep on the floor for several nights.
He will, say, grab a backpack and sleep on the floor or sleep outside for a week at a time.
I mean, we have a pile of trash sometimes that piles up in the trash can. It can pile up on the floor around the trash can. And nobody around the house lifts even a little pinky.
Right, otherwise it'll slip on the floor.
Right, because there's one that we do on the floor.
But you can use whatever you have that doesn't slip on
hold
the
on to
floor.
it.
No bottle, water is going to spill on the floor.
How much water did he spill on the floor?
We were sort of spill them out on the floor, and other dealers would come.
We're in the living room today, and I was going to hoover the carpet, so I've got my trusty hoover, and we'll be using that later for one of our movements.
And lay down a new carpet, move back in.
I ever lay down on the carpet.
At the very least, you'll ruin the carpet.
We're not actually talking about sending out employees in matching t-shirts to go paint a wall for 5 hours a week.
Paint a wall in a light gray and combine it with crisp white.
And then exhale, paint a wall, press your palms forward, paint an imaginary wall all the way down.
They isolated us in a tiny ghetto and built a thick wall around us.
It was once a thick wall built to protect one of Hungary's grandest castles.
If the thing you hit is a thick wall, the wall isn't going to move very much.
And on the other side of the building, separated by only a thin wall, were 50 dying women.
These bacteria have a thin wall.
It's a thin wall between two pits.
Cato heard 3 loud thumps on an outside wall of the guest house he is staying in.
Luckily, her room was on an outside wall.
He built an outside wall that we see here.
So you drill a hole in the wall, pop this guy through, and once that's in the inner cavity...
A drill is something that's going to make a hole in the wall.
The main city is surrounded by a wall.
And we also can see very well that the city is surrounded by a wall.
Vatican City is embedded in the city of Rome. It's surrounded by a mighty medieval wall.
You can take a patch of this and move it rotationally, but you can't take and cover a wall with it.
So the best way to protect yourself is not just to build a high wall, but we'll go after the bad guys for you.
There's one challenge in particular that requires climbing a high wall.
She had fallen off a high wall, and the doctors weren't optimistic about her recovery.
We retain that with a low wall you could sit on.
They couldn't tunnel it underground. They couldn't place it on a low wall. If they keep running into a low wall, you need to teach them how to jump.
If you told me right now to hang a picture on the wall, I would jump out the window.
they take home with them the animal, head, or trophy to hang on their wall.
I just want to be able to hang some of these great pics on the wall.
We're getting a little rowdy. Okay, everybody, let's push against the wall. And everybody did it.
It's on the fingers, but instead I can lean in, push my knee against the wall.
Take your hands and kind of push them up against the wall and just get some more pressure in there. It's like you're trying to touch the ceiling.
She can lie down on the floor of her hut and it could touch the ceiling.
But the only way you can know you touched the ceiling only is by pushing through it at least once, at least from my own experience.
I love all the wall sconces right now, or an actual pendant that hangs from the ceiling is another beautiful option.
It is a giant circle which hangs from the ceiling dome, and just these little light bulbs hanging off of it.
And it's capped off with the way that the light hangs from the ceiling.
When you're not ready for it, you stare at the ceiling and go,
so they can go to bed at night and not stare at the ceiling.
And so when I would wake up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, rather than stare at the ceiling.
If you're in a room with a high ceiling, your conceptual thinking improves. Your cognitive performance in that area of your brain will be better. If that ceiling is low, your mathematical thinking will go up.
And that's a high ceiling, and you're sitting here, you just feel like yourself kind of small.
It's always good to look outside of big windows, big doors, live in a high ceiling room, and have a big view of the world to get a proper perspective of life.
It's kind of an outdoor-indoor experience, actually, with a high ceiling but a roof overhead.
I was surrounded by 4 walls and a low ceiling of opportunity.
Not just by, working with the existing insurers, but really trying to open the door.
It's time to open the door to conversation about loss.
Saturday gets ready to open the door and the others hide.
And space modules could soon open the door for a brand new generation of explorers.
Google that and it was like all of a sudden a world has opened up that you can never close the door to.
You go to your room, you close the door, and you cry for an hour.
I felt if I didn't close the door on that chapter of my life, I might not live my dream of design and business.
I was a little bit scared because he shut the door.
Well, and she shut the door to our bedroom, and she sat on the bed opposite me.
So if I say go shut the door, I can also say go close the door. It means the same thing, and people say it differently.
To slam the door in the face of these families would betray our deepest values.
If you slam the door one more time, I'm going to take it off the hinges.
First, you make them slam the door in your face, because slamming the door in someone's face feels terrible.
Lock the door.
I lock the door, I turn on the faucet, I turn off the light.
I'm going to lock the door and I'll just leave you in the porch.
He'd received a knock on the door from a broker promising to refinance his mortgage.
You knock on the door and you say, there's 2 guys here to see you.
We said, it's a hot day, but let's drive up there and knock on the door, because surely they have a facility there, somebody can show me around.
So don't everybody break down the door when you get out of here, but
when they break down the door and find us hiding in fear behind it.
So he calls the police break the door down.
And I'm having to hold the door open because we only have one corner of the greenhouse.
Make sure I hold the door open with one hand.
We want to hold the door open for other people to take the same path that we've taken.
And the door leads to the refectory, the dining hall.
The door to the left leads into the main salon of the house.
That door leads to what had been the bishop's palace back in the 16th century.
And finally leaves the underworld to enter the world of the living by the eastern door.
Here again, however, the eccentric investigator did not enter by the front door.
Is to enter by the narrow door.
Or if you're a dude, you get to stand outside the bathroom door.
Stand outside of your front door and shout.
Then we had them go outside and stand by the door for a minute so the other person could read it.
There's someone at the door and they haven't got a pizza.
There's this long staircase, and at the end, there's this guy at the door.
I want a light bulb, a floating light bulb.
A light bulb went off for me.
Those aha moments are, it's a light bulb going off on top of our heads.
What we do is switch the light on and off, and the receiver detects the light is on.
So we'll now switch on the fill light.
I was reading the book in bed and my mom came up and told me to switch the light off.
Motel 6's catchphrase is, we'll leave the light on for you. Motel 7's was, we will turn the light on for you once you arrive.
They actually put out a newspaper and reading glasses and leave the light on in their office when they leave.
We will leave the light on for you and try to direct you there.
You know, when there's a text message or something, the light comes on.
Usually the light comes on about 5 minutes into the tour.
Everywhere I go, the light comes on.
It's not a light switch, it's a dimmer switch that goes up over a year.
30 or 60 days, like a light switch went on, and I just started to understand things.
These skills are not like a light switch. It's not like you learn these skills and then all of a sudden you can execute on them.
And it was a light switch moment for my dad.
If the light is on the roof, it's available.
Except a lot of the time we just go where the light is on.
The light is on in the window.
Self-consciousness, like the light is on you and everybody's watching, absolutely.
If the light is off and we push the button, the light goes on. If the light is on and we push the button, the light turns off.
Drive around the block a few times until the light goes out.
You can hear them giggle when the light goes out.
And when there comes rejection, the light goes out. The darkness comes.
I'll make a flap so we can open and close our window.
Open a window, close a window, turn a light off, turn a light on, so you can kind of view it at different angles.
Did you know you use a pulley when you open or close the window blinds and curtains in your house?
But I think if I break a window, I do, right?
He used a tool to break a window and pulled the two women out.
And they said, did they break a window? And I said, no, I leave my car unlocked.
You need to clean the windows, and I mean really clean the windows.
This pristine water was used to clean the windows of the finest buildings in the city. It was what you thought.
One of my jobs as a teenager was to clean all the windows in the new houses built by my father's construction company.
It's very easy to come from outside of Israel, to look through a window at someone else.
Sometimes it is easier to look through a window than it is to look in a mirror.
I was taking a look through a cultural window to the past.
Every day, that's the view from our office window that hardly anybody ever gets to see.
I mean, the view from their office window is the entire planet.
or maybe the view out the window from Earth orbit.
But I think what's quite nice is that you can also see the reflection in the window of inside, so it's a little bit hard to tell what's inside and what's outside.
Do I see my reflection in the server room window?
You do see your reflection in the server room window. Are you looking in the server room window?
Yeah.
And I would see my reflection in the window.
Know exactly how early to turn on the house heating.
All it has to do is turn on the heating elements for a while, then shut them off and lift the bread.
So he doesn't have to get up every time he wants to turn on the heating or open the curtains.
Turn off the top heating element because I want to let this ride out.
We need also going to turn off the heating because I put it on this morning and it's roasting now.
And then when you say, well, did you turn off the heating when you left home? They're like, I can't remember.
That helped to do things like install central heating.
Most upper-class Americans were beginning to install central steam heating by the 1870s.
And England's kind of cold, so it's quite nice to be able to set the heating to come on or off before I leave the office.
They put a different hood on it that has heat extractor vents.
Public housing currently has heating standards in many places, but not necessarily cooling standards.